for Yamhill County Board of Commissioners meeting on February 20th at 10 a.m. I'm going to bang the gavel again, actually, since I think we missed that the first time. Commissioner Sterrett, would you lead us in the flag salute?
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. If there's anybody in the audience wanting to make a public comment on a non-agenda item, there's some papers back there on the podium that you need to fill out. Up next is our calendar session. Does anybody have any updates or changes for that?
I don't think so. Nothing soon, I don't think.
Okay. Moving on then. D is our public comment period. Is anybody in the audience here to make a public comment on a non-agenda item? Anybody online, raise your hand. Seeing none, if you'd like to make a public comment on an item, please raise your hand as we get to that item. E is department updates. We have none. F is work session. We have none. G is consent agenda. There is none. H is old business. H1 is consideration of approval of professional services contract between Yamhill County Administration and Sarah Architects Incorporated for interior modifications, departmental test fits, and move coordination not to exceed $146,427 effective upon completion through December 10th, 2025. And this was carried over from last week, Ken.
Yeah, so this is architectural contract for everything that was described in the motion, to start doing our initial plans and start moving departments over. It's a pretty heavy lift. We're looking at, a couple hundred FTEs in offices and services. And so we're trying to be very deliberate in how we approach this and make sure that it minimizes disruption to services and hopefully goes without a hitch, so that this time next year, we should all be in a new location.
Mm-hmm.
We'll all be in a better place, Ken. Okay. I want to call out that Chair Johnston has been really jumping in to help our administrator and the team that have been working to get us over there. He's been over there with IT and everyone else. So thank you for helping out.
Yeah.
What is a monumental task.
Yes. And I will say even, prior to this, signing this approval, things are already in motion. So we're doing the easy stuff that we don't need an architect for. So IT is the first, and hopefully in 2 weeks we have IT moved, and that'll be the first, actually second shoe to drop. The first one was planning.
Yep.
So, and that really was a good precursor to show everybody how it would work and how layout, and hopefully bring everybody's nerves down a little bit once they do get done on how great it is. So it's coming. I would move approval. Is there any further discussion?
Make the plan, work the plan.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes by unanimously. Yeah,
Nice.
got it. All right, moving on to other business. I1 is consideration of approval of a board order in the matter of adopting the Yamhill County Sheriff's Office Title VI Program Compliance Plan and delegating signing authority to the sheriff.
Sergeant Young is here. If there are any questions. Oh, there.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Jody, are you on this?
Yes.
Okay.
No. No. She was right. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Brandon, can you say something?
I'm talking right now. Can you guys hear me?
Hold tight, we're working on it.
There's Noelle.
I'm here. Test 1, 2.
There we go. We got you now.
Excellent. Well, thanks for having me. I'm down in the city of Amity. I wish my camera worked. I don't know why I don't turn the camera on, but I'm here if you have any questions. Obviously, Jody's helped out tremendously with this, and happy to answer any questions you might have if I can.
Any questions?
I have no questions.
I have none.
I don't either. Anybody have a motion?
If you guys knew what I did to get over here, I thought.
Well, as soon as I saw Jody, I'm like, we're not going down this road.
And I would move approval.
We have a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously.
Nice work, Jody. Thanks for hustling.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
We won't call out that you forgot your paperwork and somebody had to bring it.
Thank you, commissioners. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Still under other business, item 2 is consideration to authorize the Yamhill County Sheriff's Office to apply for Community Investment Project SIP grant funding in the amount of $867,552 to be used to upgrade the public safety radio system.
I would move approval. I think this is for, I brought this forward a couple weeks ago and met with the field reps of the senators' offices and learned the process quite a bit. I'm learning still kind of on the fly. I think we all are, except for maybe the pros over here. But I'm excited about this project, and I know it will take a very long time in order to get to completion, but been in contact a lot with the field reps over the last few weeks. So very excited. So I move approval.
Any further discussion?
None.
I want to ditto that. The time that I've been working on this prior to Commissioner King, there's a lot of pieces that go into this. So I'm very hopeful that this will go through, and this even predates a lot of us going back probably 10 years on how out of date this system has become. And when you got to start buying pieces off of eBay to patch it together, you got issues. So and the fire districts, I mean, really, actually, a lot of different, fire departments, police departments, even our own public works uses this radio system. So there's a lot of departments that are looking forward to this upgrade. So
And former Sheriff Svensson, about 10 years ago, we met, and it was sort of this sort of a crisis meeting where we were talking about this is such an enormous task, and there's so many pieces, and it's so expensive. How do you determine which piece is going to get taken care of next? So you're right, it's been going on for a long time.
yeah,
Even-
and I know like the fire department, I mean, just meeting with those guys a year ago when we stepped up the committee on this, their biggest concern was getting into buildings and not having
Line of sight.
reception. So anyway,
Yeah.
very excited about
Yeah,
this.
I've even talked to former Sheriff Lee Vasquez, I think he was 4 sheriffs ago or so. And, it's a very long time ago that this was even a problem then. So
Yeah. We're due.
I'm excited to have gotten to work on this.
Cool. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Jody, what are you gonna
ADD
do?
or something, PhD, whatever it's called.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Item 3 is consideration approval of a grant agreement number 35701 between Yamhill County and the State of Oregon Department of Transportation, ODOT, to increase services for seniors and people with disabilities in the not to exceed amount of $32,000 with an $8,000 match and a total project cost of $40,000 effective upon full execution through December 31st, 2026, subject to review and final approval by County Council and Yamhill County Transit staff.
We have Cynthia here for questions. I've learned a lot this week, that this much of transit, but I move approval. I think there's the next 3 of them are all based around grants. to be able to get some buses and low ramps and all the good things that Cynthia's been working on for a lot of years to bring up our transit and how we run our bus system. So I move approval of I3.
We have a motion. Is there any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item 4, consideration of approval of grant agreement number 35711 between Yamhill County and the State of Oregon Department of Transportation, ODOT, to be used for 3 replacement vehicles in the not to exceed amount of $530,042 with a $60,667 match and total project cost of $590,709 effective upon full execution through December 31, 2028, subject to review and final approval by County Council and Yamhill County Transit staff.
I move approval.
There's been a motion. Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item 5, consideration of approval of grant agreement number 35710 between Yamhill County and the State of Oregon Department of Transportation, ODOT, to be used for operating funds to enhance services for older adults and people with disabilities in the not to exceed amount of $271,000 with a $67,750 match and total project cost of $338,750 effective upon full execution through December 31st, 2026, subject to review and final approval by County Council and Yamhill County Transit staff.
I move approval.
We have a motion. Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 6, consideration of a letter in support of Provoking Hope's 2026 application for the U.S. Senate appropriations funding for Yamhill County, brought to us by Commissioner Sterrett.
Thank you, Chair. This is for the applications for the Senate appropriations congressionally directed spending, which the deadline is February 28th. And I think it was important to help them. So I have submitted a letter. Hopefully everybody will agree. This is not SIP funding. This is for the congressionally directed spending. And so they're hoping to be approved for some operational grants moving forward. So I would move approval of accepting this letter and signing on to it as a full board.
There's been a motion. Any further discussion?
None.
I'm highly supportive of this, and anytime we get to support community members doing some of the work out there, I'm always glad. So thank you, Commissioner Sterrett, for putting this letter together.
Thank Provoking Hope. They're the
Yeah, and thank you,
They're-
Provoking Hope,
they're
for
the
doing the
heavy
actual
lift.
work too. Signing a letter is the easy part.
heavy lifting. Thank you.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to public hearings, J, there is none, which brings us to the end of our meeting, which is announcements.
Fun part.
Commissioner King, you want to kick us off?
Sure. I head off to County College as soon as we're done here, which we're going pretty quickly today. Nice. I met with Cynthia today. What a legend she is. She just left, so too bad she doesn't get to hear that. But really looking forward to learning just the drop in the bucket that she knows everything about federally and state on the transit system. And I think it's going to be a huge challenge as well. And Commissioner Johnston, you've been doing that last few years, and I'm sure you feel like you probably barely know anything because this just seems like there's so much to know.
Oh, no, I'm probably know more than I want to know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, looking forward to working with our Newburgh City Council this week. Big discussion on ODOT on 99 funding for the available ADA ramp projects that will begin in the near term. We're going to quote that. ODOT is hoping to spur some additional funding and long-term projects, revamp the downtown area. That's kind of no sooner than 4 years. So that's nothing in the near future.
Mhm.
And the 219 and Everest intersection, there's a lot of accidents there. And there's no funding for these projects, but they've been planning on them. It'd be interesting to see what comes from the governor's transportation package to support these basic road infrastructures, and if we don't get funding for that now, I don't see these projects ever really happening. So, Dundee City Council as well. I spoke with the mayor last night. It was a very short agenda. They didn't have much to work on this last week. And then I've been communicating with lots of the field reps and on the SIP funding that we've just approved as well. And we had city council dinner, but I think I'll let you kind of take on that. But it was really fun. It was my first one, and meeting a lot of the new city councilors and some of the mayors and, the new folks that I haven't had a chance to meet yet. It was really great. And, the energy in that room is really fun as well. So, but I'll let you give a bigger update. And that's all for me.
All right, cool. I will say, note on Cynthia, you probably won't find anybody more passionate about the transit
Oh,
system. And
yeah.
it doesn't matter whether it's here or in another country. Absolutely passionate.
I had
about it.
planned for a half an hour and I think I was there for almost 2.
Yeah.
So it was, it was great. I really
She's
love
been a gift to this
Yeah,
county. I
yeah.
mean, we really needed her when she showed up, and
Yeah.
she's been great.
I'm a big fan from the 2 hours I spent with her. So
Commissioner Sterrett.
Okay, I wrote a letter. Again, there's some SIP funding available, and as a liaison to the Affordable Housing Corporation, which is in cooperation with the Housing Authority, they're asking for money for low-income ownership and for closure avoidance issues and for home rehabilitation in McMinnville. So hopefully they will get some funding for that. Because one of the things we're finding out is if you can keep people in their homes, avoidance, foreclosure avoidance, and keep people in homes that are falling apart by rehabbing them, it's going to be a whole lot better than trying to find new places for them to live. The Mental Health and Disabilities Advisory Council met, and we've got some really dedicated people, and they have a new kind of a assessment and intake plan so they can get folks in earlier. We've got 5,500 clients that they're seeing, and we got some statistics on suicides, attempted suicides, just of our caseload. And what we're seeing is the ages 14 to 18 of our clients, there were 10 attempts. And we're also seeing that older people and those 36 to 55 and 56 plus are attempting suicide. So, we really have to look at this as it's a community-wide problem, whether they're engaged in our services or in the greater community. The other thing I want to bring up is this wildfire mapping. This is really important. People who live in, throughout the state, there was an effort which we really did engage to try to get some sanity into this process, but we had Senate Bill 762 and then Senate Bill 80, which was a wildfire mapping effort to try to make a sort of cut down on wildfire risk. What it wound up doing was sort of a punitive and a scattershot approach to labeling rural properties as high impact or high wildfire risk or wild urban interface. And the map is, as we've all come to decide throughout the counties, it's massive overreach. There's an effort in the legislature by the minority party to repeal these maps. But the most important thing people need to know is that if you received a certified letter in the mail that said you had a high impact or wildfire urban interface, you need to appeal that by March 7th. And I'm going to put some information on our website, which will tell you where you can go, look up your address, and then file the appeal. I've asked County Council if he could look into filing a blanket appeal for all county residents, because that's what the DOJ is suggesting we address that at the county level.
is that something we can all put on our social media pages too? Would you
I would.
send it to
Yeah,
me
I
somehow?
will send that link out.
Yeah.
So people can go on, look up their address, find out what the process is for filing an appeal.
Yeah.
If you don't file an appeal, you don't get to address this. So if the maps aren't repealed, They're also, I guess what Governor Kotek was saying, she's going to put a pause on this till after the legislative session. That doesn't mean you don't file your appeals. It's very misleading.
Yeah.
And this has to do with your property values
Yeah.
and the ability to live and own property in rural areas. So it's significant. So I'm going to make sure that's on the website, but we need to keep an eye on this.
Do you know how much of that is in Yamhill County?
Well, everybody's property is different.
Is everybody- okay.
So if you're looking at up your property, your neighbor might not be considered
Oh, okay.
high impact, but that's
Yeah.
why these maps are they don't take into consideration topography, irrigation,
Yeah.
water.
I remember one of the first versions of this that came out when we were dealing, when it was tied to ADUs. We couldn't approve our ADUs for the county because the wildfire map was attached to it. Well, they finally decoupled it. But that one of those first versions that came out literally had high fire risk for center pivots in Eastern Oregon. It's like, what are you doing there? It's irrigated farm ground. So it was very just shotgun approach and it was not very.
I'd love to put
Thought
that on my
leader.
social media if you could send that to me. And
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
definitely get that out to everybody, just to take a look at what the ODF is explaining and then how to file the appeal. In the meantime,
Yeah, I mean, if there is consensus among the board to look into whether we can file a blanket appeal, I'm happy to do that. Commissioner Sterrett brought this to my attention yesterday. And so I think there's time
Yep.
before the deadline to determine that. So as long as we've got a consensus from a majority of the board to do that, I'll go ahead and work on that.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah,
Yep.
very good. Thank you.
for that.
Thank you very much.
And then we can get that information out to people and also put on the website that we've done that.
Well, yeah, and I think one of the things I was reading yesterday is exactly the conversation you're having right now and the efforts you're talking about making on social media. There was a definite interest in pushing out and encouraging folks who are going to be impacted by this, if they're concerned about it, to file an appeal themselves.
Because there could be significant legal
Mhm.
costs for the person making the appeal, which is, once again, the state has endless funds for litigation and, it's little guys who have to figure it out on their own. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
There's a rally in the Capitol.
Do you want to?
Yeah, no, yep, come up, name, address.
Greg Park, 23333 Southwest Solar Drive. There's a rally on the 25th at the state capitol at 11 o'clock on that issue.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
That's it.
sir.
Thank you.
On the wildfire
Yeah.
mapping?
Yeah.
Do you have something on that you
On,
could? If you could, that would be
SB
great.
762.
If you could, thank you.
Thank
Then
you so
can
much.
Get that out. I'll make sure
Yeah.
everybody gets it. Thank you for that.
Anything else?
No,
All right. Thursday night, was Lafayette City Council. They went remote. It wasn't that long ago that we had that weather that rolled in. They did have one city councilor that resigned, so there's an open seat now on Lafayette City Council. Friday, had the privilege of going to my second FIT burn training that McMinnville Fire District put on, and it's our fire investigation team that's a Yamhill County based. It's very interesting. If you ever get the opportunity to go to one, they use fire chiefs from around the area, and I think some of them are actually retired. But they'll go set up certain rooms in a burn to learn home that's been donated. And in each different room, they'll set up different scenarios on how a fire would start in a home. And then the fire investigation team, they'll light the fire and they will let it burn for seconds, and then they'll put it out. And then the following day, the trainees come in and try to assess how the fire started. The best part of this whole thing is when you get to see how it was set up, watch it burn, and then go to the training summary at the end, when all of these trainees are in there trying to discuss how the fire started, and then the fire chiefs get, the ones that set the room up get to come up there and tell them how it really started. It's actually a very cool process on how they learn. They also bring in a accelerant sniffing dog.
Mm.
to these so that the dog can train. And there's one of them based out of Portland Fire. And I think if I remember right, it's funded with State Farm Insurance. So anyway, pretty
So
cool.
what
If you
was
ever,
how did they set the fire?
well, one of them that I watched was a Christmas tree, Christmas lights, and I can't remember what was supposed to start it, but I remember him having a little squirt bottle of gasoline in his hand. So it's, some of them would be arson too. And then that's where the accelerants come into play. There's many different scenarios. The one a year and a half ago out in Yam Hill, I remember the garbage can was outside the window was open, curtains, fabric curtains. And so very small fire outside, but it lit the inside curtains, which then lit the rest of the house on fire. Well, they never could get it because it was such a small burn outside that nobody really saw that it started outside with the garbage can. Yeah, it's
Very
pretty cool.
interesting.
If you ever get a chance to do it, I like it. That was Friday. Monday was
Headlines.
Yeah.
Commissioner Johnston likes setting fires.
All right, moving on. Tuesday, Sheridan City Council meeting, they received funding from Department of Land and Conservation District to update their development code. It's addressing and removing any potential barriers to housing development and adds a few more permitted residential uses. Tuesday morning, or actually Tuesday afternoon, was Willamette Workforce Partnership. We need to get this one cleared up. So I emailed Kim because on our liaison list, Commissioner King is actually the member. I'm the alternate, but Kim has confusion, or Kim with Willamette Workforce Partnership has confusion because there's actually two commissioners from Polk County and Lynn County. So we're going to get that all cleaned up, and then we'll make sure that you get the schedule for that. There was another, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here, but this morning there was Willamette Workforce Jobs Council. There's the board meeting was this morning. They pretty much just rehashed what we had during the Jobs Council meeting. But we're going to get that cleared up.
Thank you.
Willamette Workforce, they discussed their budget audit. 61% of it is Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funding. So again, federal funding and freezes and whatever. They're keeping a close eye on that, kind of like the COG. COG's almost 85% funded through federal funds. So they're keeping a close eye on it. Staff also presented a summary of how the funding is spent on different programs and just a quick rundown. And kudos to Commissioner Pope from Polk County asking the tough questions of what's our return on investment for these programs. So they're supposed to be gathering that information, but we get out of everybody that comes through Title I services, adults, there was 115, youth was almost 300. But in the end, we ended up with 8 commercial driver's licenses, complete through the program, 4 certified nursing assistants, 1 certified dental assistant, 2 welding certificates. And for the youth, there was 13 CPR and first aid certificates, 1 certified nursing assistant, and 8 ServSafe certifications.
And what was the investment that we did? For
Yeah,
all of that?
you will find out at the next
Okay.
meeting. Let's see. And that takes care of Willamette Workforce. On to Wednesday. Yesterday morning was COG. Still kind of the same update as last week. Still keeping an eye on funding. They're finalizing, or we finalized our ledge committee support list items. We removed a few things, and then we're possibly going to add one that has to do with just regional water solutions for all the cities, which seemed to be a theme last night at the county dinner. I missed my Pitt Parks board meeting, and I missed the FIT burn where they actually burnt the complete house down, or the house Wednesday or yesterday night, because we went to the Dayton City County dinner.
Sacrifices, man.
Yeah, the sacrifices that you have to make. I love my parks board so much. They're so committed. Yeah, it drives me nuts when I have to miss that stuff. But theme from the dinner last night was sewer needs from cities, water infrastructure, seemed to be kind of the biggest takeaway for that. I need to publicly apologize to two people. First one's going to be Captain Whitlow for stealing his thunder. I do blame our sheriff for that. The second is Joya. Because when I sat down next to her, she had 2 pages of notes. And I'm like, are you going to read that full 2 pages of notes? So when she did get up to give her update, she made it like 30 seconds long. So that's my second apology. To my defense, it was 8:45 at night. So
Yeah.
But no excuse that we shouldn't have full update. Sorry, Joya. This morning was Parkway Committee, and I brought this partially up last night at the Dayton City County dinner. We had another massive accident out at McDougal Corner. And so Parkway Committee was this morning, and every time something like this happens, it reignites letters and phone calls, and reach out to your state legislators, your federal senators. And I know Merkley's got one coming up at Dunaway Middle School on Sunday at 3 p.m. So do everything you can to just write these letters to ODOT. It does help. I know my wife, she has done it in the past. In fact, she sent me an email also, along with about 10 or 12 other political figures throughout the county. And she actually sent an email. This is even prior to me being a commissioner. This is prior to me even thinking about being a commissioner. It went clear back to 2017. So as she slowly, every time there's an incident or a concern, she always sends it to ODOT. And then she's slowly been adding to these emails, but she always sends all of the emails. And it was a list of almost 6 times that she sent an email dating back to 2017. And really the theme is just, we all have kids that are coming up on driving age, and it's concerning. We all have family members that, drive on those roads, and the more awareness we can bring. I mean, I'm not saying that there's not issues throughout the state, but the squeaky wheel gets the grease on these.
Yeah.
And we just need to be out ahead of them. So anyway, Parkway Committee, we talked about McDougal intersection again and where we're at with funding and design phase and what we can do even in the interim to maybe reconfigure some of the intersections that come and interact with McDougal Road.
It's definitely not an if and a when. There's an accident there
It is.
every other day.
Even this morning at Parkway, I was asking of how we could actually combine and do more of a regional approach to this, because I know we're talking about McDougal, but you also have Lafayette Highway and Highway 18 that has as bad or worse record for crashes and wrecks. So
I think our district has the 4 most deadly fatal intersections in Oregon.
Yeah.
From what Representative Scharf has told me in her district. So, and I think we're 3 of the 4 in Yamhill County. So it's really important to highlight that.
And at the end of Parkway, they were trying to get a letter out. I don't know why it always comes down to the wire. It's nothing that we're doing. It's just these funding requests. They come in yesterday and they're like, hey, can anybody write a letter by tonight? And it's like, give me what I can. I can walk it on, see the board, but they never did. Nobody was able to get me something. So maybe the second round of support letters, I'll bring something before the board and see if we can put something together there. Tonight's fair board meeting is at 5:30. And I already mentioned Merkley coming 3 p.m. And that's all I got on my update list.
I just want to say thank you. Usually the sheriff is at these local government dinners, and he wasn't able to be there last night, but we had Sergeant Eubanks there and Captain Whitlow and Deputy Twitchell, who is the Dayton contract deputy. And we really appreciate them being there. We know how overworked they all are, but thank you for the information about being fully staffed, and
Yeah.
that's good information. And just one more thing, I think we should all take a moment to wish our county administrator a very happy birthday tomorrow, because he really enjoys this attention. Happy birthday.
That's fantastic.
Just send him a happy birthday.
If I had a better voice, I'd sing.
Happy
but-
birthday.
Yeah, all right. Let's let that linger a little bit.
Yeah.
Is
Let's
anybody
let
gonna
it
ask
sit-
him how old he
let it
is gonna
sit there
be?
for a
or-
second.
Did you have anything you want to say?
Yeah.
What a special day.
Perfect. All right, let's wrap it up. 10:35. Thank you very much, everybody.